Hi, my name is Bev Fawcett. I'm with Patterson Price Real Estate, and I'm a brand new certified charitable real estate specialist. So because of that, I'm letting Cammie Baker do this presentation. She's one of the founders, and she's got all the answers and all the information. I will introduce Seal DeFazio, who is the ED of the MOT Senior Center. And if that doesn't mean anything to you, that is the Middletown Odessa Townsend Senior Center. And here's Seal.
Hello, and I'll just take a quick minute to let you know that the Senior Center is here to improve the quality of life for seniors in this general area, as well as keep them in their homes and out of institutions for as long as safely possible. So we have a lot of daytime activities. We are not an overnight stay. We are not a housing facility. We are a daytime activity facility. So I wanted to make that clear. We do a lot of things for seniors. We take them to medical appointments, grocery stores, physical therapy. We're one of the few transportation providers that will do that, as well as bring people in and take them home if we have room on the bus. But we also provide groceries, and as much as possible, we have used technology during COVID to make sure that some of our programs get online for the people who don't want to come out yet. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I'm ready for you to begin.
Okay, guys, I'll take it from here. If you want to turn off your camera over there for now, I'll drive this bus. So Seal, thank you so much for offering up your room in the Zoom. We say we present in rooms and Zooms all over the country. So thank you for that. And Bev Fawcett. Bev is one of our newest charitable real estate specialists. And when she and I got to talking about what a big deal this is, nonprofits all over this country have gotten funded, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars. Matter of fact, $9 billion a year is donated to nonprofits through the gifting of real estate. And it is our mission to bring billions more to the smaller communities, the nonprofits that deserve it. So before I start sharing the screen and get into the information that we're all here to learn about, just want to give you a little bit of a background. I was in real estate for 15 years in the state of New Hampshire. I did a lot of real estate there. And during my time of being a realtor, of making thousands of prospecting calls and door knocking and going to networking events and all the things that go into building a real estate business, I bought my dream car of a 1964 and a half Mustang convertible. With that car, I started doing car shows, and I wanted to give the money to our local nonprofits. I found one that resonated with me called the Live and Let Live Farm that rescued horses. And for 7 years, as a real estate agent there, we partnered with Live and Let Live Farm, Children with Cancer, Ronald McDonald House, Make-A-Wish Foundation, just really have a good foundation of real estate and fundraising. So fast forward 2.5 years ago, I'm sitting in a conference just before the pandemic, and I hear the presenter say these magical words that bring us all to this video right now, which is charitable gifting of real estate. What? What even is that? How could I have been in real estate 15 years and work with these huge nonprofits down to the smallest and exchange business cards with tens of thousands of people, and I'd never heard of this? So what you're going to learn today is what it is, why 99.9% of people have never heard of it, how it can 6 times the endowments of nonprofits who put it into play, how it gives tax breaks to the donors, and how it helps the business community at large. So I'm going to share my screen and come on over here and get our presentation. Now, you will notice that we call these legacy listings because When a piece of real estate is donated, the first thing we need to do is list it on the market with a realtor so that we can liquidate it to give the cash to the nonprofits that the donor wants to have it. And every one of these listings, because they give tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars to nonprofits, they're leaving legacy for the nonprofit, they're leaving legacy for the donor, and they're leaving legacy for us as advisors who want to share this with people. Now, this is a pretty harsh screen. I just had my team put it in 30 minutes ago. But the reason that I want to give a bit of a warning is because, friends, you're getting ready to learn the truth. The truth is proceeds from gifts of real estate will always be a better way to fund nonprofits than any fundraiser and any grant writing that we could ever do. And you're going to learn about all of this as we move forward. I just want you to know you cannot unlearn what you're getting ready to learn. And warning is just a little bit of a fun way of saying we are getting ready to help you do something so magical and big and beneficial that you probably have never heard of. It's just getting ready to turn you upside down like it did me. So let's jump on in and talk about this charitable real estate thing. How did it get started? What is it? 1917, the United States. You know what? I'm sorry. Did I put us on record? I did. I did put us on record. Sorry, just thought about it. 1917, United States government said, hey, tax deductions for people who donate to 501c3s. For us specifically, it's a tax deduction from a gift of real estate. So they said, hey, if you'll donate real estate to a 501c3, not only does this incentivize our public to be more philanthropic, not only does it give the nonprofit an asset that it can sell to fund its programs, but it also gives these donors two specific tax benefits. And there's a lot more, but these are the ones we talk about in the beginning. They avoid capital gains tax on that which they donate, and they also can write off the full appraised value as the basis for their tax deduction. So it sounds simple enough. There are donors all over this country that want to help our nonprofits, and they want to make donations. And the fact is, even though your nonprofit is right there in the middle of the country, it could be that there is a donation of real estate in Florida, in California, in New York City. In other words, it can be anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world. And it sounds simple enough, but here's the thing. It is so complex. It is so risky. Nonprofits, 99.99% of the 1.3 million just say no to real estate. And friends, you should. It's complex. It is very risky. We are not suggesting that nonprofits start accepting real estate. We are suggesting that you start benefiting from the proceeds with no risk and no out-of-pocket expense. So here's what it looks like. There's 1.3 million nonprofits. That number is growing every day. Less than half of a percent can take on real estate. So the average person comes up with 500 cash or the deed to a property worth $500,000. The fact is 99.99% of nonprofits are going to take that cash and say no to the real estate. And as I mentioned, they should. And here's why. Typical nonprofit doesn't have the expertise. They have brilliant board members with all kinds of business experience and CPAs and attorneys and even realtors. And you know what? Even if Bev and I sit right on the board and can provide advice, here's the other problem. There's no capital. In other words, some of these gifts of real estate require mortgages to be paid off. Or they require a shopping mall needs a new parking lot for $1 million. Like, what are you going to do with that? Another problem is this thing, mission drift. Every one of our nonprofit friends has a mission, whether it's to keep our seniors as active as possible through every waking moment of their day, keeping them fulfilled and in a community and together, whether it's feeding the homeless or saving our veterans. We do not want these people with big missions to help lots of people getting all complicated and convoluted and drifting off their mission with real estate. Nonprofits have heard about bad experiences, whether they've had them themselves or they've heard through the grapevine. Oh yeah, we took a piece of real estate 10 years ago. We'll never do that again. Some nonprofits will accept real estate on a limited basis. So for example, there's a lot of community foundations that will take local real estate if it's mortgage free and it's easy. But most nonprofits have it written right in their bylaws that they do not accept gifts of non-cash assets, especially not real estate. And ultimately, it's just too risky, very, very risky to take on real estate. However, there's a huge opportunity here. Every year, $474 billion is donated to those 1.3 million nonprofits in this country. 90% of that comes from cash. And statistics say that whether an individual earns $20,000 a year, 20 million a year, 200 million, they have less than 3% of their wealth in pocket change, in cash that they have at their disposal. Now, $9 billion a year does come from real estate. And whether that sounds like a lot or a little, the fact is it's only 2% of that 474 billion. But 43% of our wealth as a nation is held in real estate. So to bring that all together, that the reason why this solution was created is because if 90% that nonprofits bring in, 75%, by the way, comes from individuals, not corporations. And if 90% is coming out of that 3% of cash, and only 2% is coming from our 43% of wealth in our real estate, the numbers just don't add up. Why is that? Well, the reason for it is because it is so risky that nonprofits say no. So the answer to one of the questions I posed earlier, why have I never heard of this? It's because if nonprofits won't take real estate, there's been no reason to teach it to realtors or to encourage financial advisors or donors to donate because nonprofits say no. But here's the solution. This thing called a specialized nonprofit. Now, when I learned about this 2.5 years ago, I went on the hunt. I knew that this is what we needed to make this a smooth, easy, risk-free proposition for nonprofits. And the one that I chose, 4 guys came together, all of them with 30, 40 years experience in commercial real estate development, 30 to 40 years experience in philanthropy, sitting on boards, loving our nonprofit world. And they all came together 20 years ago and said, why is it that our nonprofit friends are not benefiting from the 43% of wealth that we have in real estate? They learned that they could create this specialized nonprofit that takes title and all the financial responsibility, giving any and all nonprofits the ability to benefit from gifts of real estate with no risk, with no out-of-pocket expense, and with no need to change gift acceptance policies just to benefit from the proceeds. Now, these are a bunch of logos of nonprofits that you may recognize, and we want you to know that they've all benefited from gifts of real estate. it's interesting that Boys and Girls Club, Habitat for Humanity, Girl Scouts, these organizations have branches and chapters and groups, hundreds, thousands, all over the country. And for whatever reason, they don't share with each other how they're getting funded. So the local Boys and Girls Club in your community, the local Habitat for Humanity, all these places need to be taught. The churches, my God, the universities, the public radio. In other words, what we want you to know is this has been happening for 100 years, but on a very limited basis, because there's a small handful of nonprofits who've learned how to do this and take advantage of it. And it wasn't until the Real Agents of Change was created that the community at large, the public, the masses are now being educated about it. So here's what it looks like. Let's say there's a donor in Florida and they love MOT, Senior Center. They want to benefit. It could be one of the seniors that comes to the program every day and they have a second house, it's a condo down in Miami. It could be that it's one of the vendors that works with that organization who has a strip mall in California or a big piece of land out in Texas. Friends, this real estate could be from anywhere in the country. So our example, let's say it's $1 million condo in Florida. Well, it's in Florida. What if it's got a $300,000 mortgage on it? The fact is the senior center would have to come out of pocket $300,000 to pay off that mortgage, to be able to take title, which would give the donor the tax advantages. And let's face it, senior center doesn't have that money. They don't have that risk capability. So here's what happens. The donor meets with the specialized nonprofit who shows them 2 net sheets. Net sheet 1 shows them what it would look like to pay capital gains tax or any other tax consequences of selling that condo. And then they show them another net sheet, what it would look like to actually donate the property to MOT Senior Center, to our Daily Bread, to church, anywhere they want it to go. And when they decide that they want to make that donation, specialized nonprofit takes title, specialized nonprofit pays off that mortgage. Specialized nonprofit now has full responsibility of that property under a contractual obligation that states when this property is sold, here is who is going to get the money. So when it's sold, 90 to 98% of the proceeds go to the nonprofit or nonprofits. It can be given to one. It can be shared among 3 or 10 or 20, however the donor wants it to be divvied out. Now, the specialized nonprofit shared with me that last year, on average, they kept 5.6% of the proceeds to handle the transaction. Now, when you put that in comparison terms, instead of giving the government 30% in capital gains tax, instead of not having this large amount to write off of their adjusted gross income and therefore save hundreds of thousands in taxes, they would prefer to give the specialized nonprofit 5.9% so that the nonprofits that they love can get the money instead of Uncle Sam. So I'm going to go through now the benefits to the 3 stakeholders, the triangle of trust as we think of it. The first set of benefits is for the nonprofits. First and foremost, because it is charitable gifting of real estate, but secondly, because the transactions are handled by a third-party credible expert. So for example, no risk, all reward. Can't guarantee that if the nonprofit's trying to do it themselves. There is no risk. The nonprofit doesn't even need to know the address. They don't even need to know what state it is in. That's how risk-free it is. Number two, there are no traditional fundraisers or grant writing, meaning no need for 3 to 6 months to plan a gala or a golf tournament. No need to bring in experts to write grants, trying to get 5,000, 20,000, 50,000. Average donation from a piece of real estate, 550,000. Specialized nonprofit told me last year it was 557,000, and commercial average is 900,000. Now, friends, this is so important. There is no need for new donors. Now, the way that we do this, the way we spread the word, the way that we can help any nonprofit anywhere in the country to have an army of realtors all over the country that want to help them, there will be people coming to the table that you've never met. But please do not get in the scarcity mindset that you don't know anyone who would donate real estate. Whether you have 100 or 1,000 or 5,000 donors in your list, you have gifts of real estate in your current donor list. I guarantee it. You just need to let them know that you can benefit from real estate. So Jackie Franey from the Nature Conservancy comes up with this statistic. Those same donors can give 3 to 7 times more when we're talking about non-cash assets. And oh boy, we love sharing this story about Linda because everyone has a Linda. Here's the story. National Jewish Health is a large nonprofit in this country. They bring in hundreds of millions a year, and they have a donor list of 300,000. Now, you might say, well, of course, if they've got 300,000 people, of course they've got donors. But Linda, who was one of those, was giving $25 a year for 32 years. Linda loves her nonprofit. 25 bucks a year is what she can swing, and that's what she does. But 2 years ago, Linda heard one of our team talking about this topic. When she learned that that nonprofit could benefit from gifts of real estate, she raised her hand and said, I have a second home. I have a cabin in the Poconos, been in my family for years. I would donate that. What the team learned was that this cabin was a 6-hour drive from Linda's house. And when she would go visit it, it was in such disrepair that she'd have to get a hotel room. And she was contemplating what to do with it. She knew she'd have to come out of pocket some money to repair it. It wasn't even livable. She was overwhelmed with the prospect of having to hire contractors, etc. So she donated the property through the team. And when the property was liquidated, a check for $39,000 was given to that nonprofit. Now, as you'll remember me saying, 550,000 is the average, but it's the average because there are $39,000 donations and there are $3 million donations. Linda is just an example. We all know Linda. She's on your donor list. She's one of your volunteers. She sits on your board. She's on Facebook. She just needs to know that she can help you with the donation of real estate. Also, this next bullet point is interesting. I spoke with Kelly, the fundraiser at that nonprofit, about 3 months ago, and Kelly said, Linda now gives $500 a year, from $25 to $500 after 32 years. Why? Because there's a psychological shift when people go from giving change, pocket change, to giving an asset. Now, Dr. Russell James, I highly recommend that you learn about Dr. James and the studies that his team is providing. He's written the foreword for our upcoming book. And we are just honored to have him as part of what we're doing, because his team read 1 million tax returns from 200,000 nonprofits and have proven that nonprofits who take non-cash assets, in our case, real estate, 6 times their endowments. Now, another benefit to nonprofits, if they already accept real estate, we love that. If they can handle their local real estate, God bless, keep doing it. But what if they could actually expand to benefit from real estate anywhere in the country, in some cases, anywhere in the world, of any kind, any size, any mortgage that needs to be paid off? Benefit to them is working with this team gives them that opportunity. And ultimately, legacy listings benefit to the nonprofits, or they can leave the legacy they were created to leave. Now let's talk about these donors for a minute, because perhaps you're starting to see, okay, well, it's been on the tax code since 1917, can't dispute that, it's happening. $9 billion a year is donated at an average of $550,000 per donation. That's 18 to 20,000 donations a year, even with hardly anyone knowing about it. So I'm starting to kind of understand that, but what are the benefits to the donors? Why would they give a piece of real estate? So the first reason that I've learned over the last 2 years is that it's convenient. Linda donated that cabin because it was convenient. It was a 6-hour drive. It was in disrepair. She was going to have to come out of pocket. She was overwhelmed. When she could just hand over the keys and get that tax deduction, she liked that. And by the way, Linda, they did a photo shoot with Linda and they put her on their postcards that they send out. She's the poster child for gifts of real estate, because she is an example that anyone can and will, when they have an asset like that, that they want to benefit their nonprofit with. Another benefit to the donors is they can receive partial cash payment, cash out of the donation. So that $1 million condo in Florida that's being donated to MOT, Senior Center, they needed $300,000 to pay off that mortgage. So whether the donor wants to pay off a mortgage, whether they want to buy life insurance so that their heirs still get an inheritance, instead of the condo, they're going to get cash, which is what they wanted anyway. No matter why they want cash, they do not have to donate the full amount. Another benefit to donors is this wealth bucket versus cash reserve conversation. Linda could only afford $25 a year when it was cash. But when she was able to give from her wealth bucket, when she was able to give an appreciated asset that she would have had to pay capital gains tax on, etc., it was a way for her to give smarter. No capital gains tax is paid on that which people donate, which is a big deal to high net worth individuals and those who are worried about their estate planning. And friends, 80% of these donations happen because the donor wants to leave a legacy. Linda loves her nonprofit. She didn't do it for the tax benefit. That was a nice benefit, but she did it to leave legacy. Now let's talk for a minute about the advisors. Everyone needs to understand why this benefits everyone involved. So when I say advisors, I mean anyone who advises people who own real estate, whether it's a CPA, estate planning attorney, financial planner, realtor. Advisors benefit from this for dozens, hundreds of reasons that we get into actually in the master class. So what we're doing right now is a bit of a appetizer, a little overview will be done in about 10 minutes. But the master class we do once a month on the third Tuesday live, we get into a lot more detail. So one of the reasons this benefits advisors is that they can leverage this as a business development tool. It gives them a way to not separate making money, building their business, making a difference, donating and volunteering. When they can bring the two together, that's the kind of person that resonates with the real agents of change. You know, Bev is with Patterson Price. She is a seasoned real estate professional. She loves her nonprofits and she has a business to run. So for her to be able to bring them both together, it is the perfect alignment. And Bev can support now lots of causes. See, we only have so much time, talent, and treasure. She can only volunteer so many hours. She can only give $500 donation, 10% of this commission check, offering, discounts, etc. There's only so much of that you can do. But when you can become the go-to expert for dozens, hundreds of nonprofits, she can now support them, not by giving them $100 or $500 or just volunteering an hour or two. She can support them by helping them get checks that are an average of $550,000. This is a unique sales proposition. This is a conversation that even though it's been around for 100 years, and even though it is happening to the tune of $9 billion a year, this is a unique sales proposition because it's new to most people that hear about it. This opens doors for the financial advisor, for the CPA. Friends, you have on your board attorneys, estate planners, financial people, realtors, stagers, landscapers. Like, you have all these people who would love to be more intertwined with high net worth clients that are generous, that are forward thinking and visionary. This is just flat out a good way to do business. Social responsibility isn't just the right thing to do, it's the necessary thing to do in business. Here's a statistic: 87% of consumers, customers, and clients want to do business with the company, the product, or the service provider that is socially responsible. And there's no better social responsibility than being able to help all 1.3 million nonprofits in this country. We are creating charitable real estate divisions, CRED ability, the ability to have CRED, whether it's a real estate office, a financial services office, or a nonprofit itself. To have a charitable real estate division is a benefit for everyone involved. Now, real estate agents get paid a full commission to list and liquidate a legacy listing, meaning when that condo in Florida is donated and maybe Daily Bread brought that donor to the table, that condo in Florida needs to be listed with a local real estate agent. And we say full commission because we want them to know we're not asking them to do this at a discount. It's involved with nonprofit and people giving away real estate, but we do not want them to give their services away. We want them to know we will pay them what they're worth to work with us. And friends, that's how you get an army of realtors all over the country to help your nonprofit. Because when they know they can make money by helping you make a difference, they are on board. Second part of that sentence, increasing assets under management. Once again, financial advisors. Financial advisors increase their assets under management. Now, 2.5 years ago, I didn't know what assets under management was. Been in real estate for all those years and a businesswoman and been an entrepreneur since I was 8 years old, but I'd never even heard of that. But what I know now is one of the ways financial advisors make money is by managing assets. The one asset they cannot manage is real estate. When we can teach them how to liquidate real estate, I promise you, they get very excited. And as a matter of fact, one last little statistic before we go to the next slide and start bringing this to a conclusion. 65% of the $9 billion that currently comes to nonprofits through gifts of real estate, 65% is instigated by a financial advisor. So if you know a financial advisor, they need to know that we are here to help them. Now, who is this Real Agents of Change, the ROC, as we have become known? We are the only organization in the world that provides information, education, and certification around charitable gifting of real estate. We are the only organization that teaches how to leverage real estate for the real change that we're wanting to make in the world. We have the vetted resources and relationships that include, but are not limited to, specialized nonprofit. We've done the research. We've built the relationship. So for example, if you were to Google charitable gifts of real estate, how to donate real estate, you'll find a dozen or more nonprofits that accept real estate. And that is awesome. Good for them, including Cars for Kids. They accept real estate too. Why would I share that with you? Well, if a donor wants to get a tax deduction and that's all they're interested in, they've got a plethora of ways to liquidate that real estate and get that tax deduction. But friends, if they donate their real estate to Cars for Kids, they get the tax deduction, but they can't give the proceeds to the nonprofits they love. They can't make sure you get a check. Cars for Kids is very smart. They have a brilliant marketing campaign, and they are being funded hundreds of millions of dollars for their efforts. What we're saying is, let's work with a specialized nonprofit that wants to partner with you, that will give the money to any nonprofit that the donor wants to have it. Another resource that we provide, CGRE, stands for Charitable Gifting of Real Estate. We provide all the marketing and email and social media and what we call cause marketing campaigns. The fact is, whether you're watching this live or in recording, you're here because of the marketing that we provide. Whether this is what brought Bev to the table, whether this is what had you come find this recording, we're the only organization in the world that markets this kind of campaign. We have the only programs for the CCRES, for those specialists, for the charitable real estate divisions, and oh boy, let me show you the map. So this map has been a long time coming. 2 years ago, I saw this in my mind. What if we had a map of the United States and you could hover your mouse over any state to find the real estate agents that can help your nonprofit, to find the financial advisors who understand how to advise people about this? What if you could hover and find the nonprofits that understand charitable gifting of real estate and will actually position, partner, and promote with the realtors and the financial advisors and the mortgage companies and title companies and dog walkers and volunteers. In other words, charitable gifting of real estate is only one aspect of this. Once you know what it is, once you come to the master class for free, the third Tuesday of the month, you can come to the master class for free. Once you come to it and you know what charitable gifting of real estate is, that's awesome. And it is the first key of 5 keys to leverage real estate for real change. In other words, what are you going to do with it now? And that's what we help with, including putting you on the map. So we are helping people either become a specialist or become a champion with charitable real estate. What's the difference? Well, there's specialists in every industry, organization. Specialists are the people who know a skill that no one else in their field does. They possess this detailed information, just like doctors have specialists in, for throat, specialists for eyes, etc. Specialist has more knowledge than the others. And so anyone who becomes a charitable real estate specialist, right off the bat, they know more than 99% of the people in their marketplace. But what we like to do is actually help to grow and nurture the champions. Bev is a champion. A champion is someone who fights for, speaks up for people, organizations, causes that they care about. Champions are those who do battle for another person's rights. Seal is a champion for her organization. She wants those seniors to have a good quality of life for as many days as they want to have it. She's a champion that is a winner, number one in her industry and organization, not just because she knows more, but because she's doing something with it. So to bring this to a total conclusion, what are your next steps? We find that there are 4 people that find their way to these presentations, and we want to speak to each and every one of those. Now, the first one, we don't meet often, but if this is you, we just want to thank you for coming. Some people have no need for this. They don't have a nonprofit they support. They're not really interested in social responsibility. Very few people, but there are some out there who don't know any realtors, don't know financial advisors. Like, this is nice, and they're happy somebody else is being helped, but they just don't have a need for it. If that's you, thank you for coming. If you sat here for 30 minutes, you learned a little something, and we want you to know you're going to hear about this at the pool parties, by the water cooler, on social media, in your Facebook groups. As you learn more and more about it, you'll know where to come if you want to learn more. Moreover, there are people that come here who have gifts of real estate. Imagine if your nonprofit was holding this presentation for 10, 20, 50, 100 of your donors, and one of them said, well, we've got that condo down in Florida. We've got raw land out in Texas. We've got a business complex in California that's appraised at $10 million. How do we find out if our property qualifies? Well, we've got this property evaluation form. We send them there. They take 3 minutes to fill it out. We put them in touch with the specialized nonprofit who gives them those 2 net sheets that I mentioned. And they look at their choices. Here's what it looks like to pay Uncle Sam. If it's a $10 million strip mall or office complex, they're paying Uncle Sam a lot of money. So they can either decide if they want to do that or if they want to donate. And either way, they make an educated decision. Now, there are people who come who say, all right, I've never heard of this, but it makes sense. Been around for 100 years, but the reason we've never heard of it is because nonprofits don't take real estate. So there's been no point in any of us really talking about it because they don't take real estate. But what I've learned is $9 billion a year is donated to nonprofits because there is a small handful of really smart people who have been leveraging this for their nonprofits, for their financial services companies. Cammie, I get the concept. I just need a little more. I'm analytical. I need to know more. Fabulous. We got you covered. TheRock.com/FAQS has the top 13 questions, misconceptions answered for you on video. We have an interview with me and the specialized nonprofit talking about who they are, who we are, how we work together. There's an interview with Dr. James and the report that his team put together that proves you can 6 times your endowments this way. All of that is at that link. Maybe you want to go look at some case studies. If you go to the /donations, you'll see videos about raw land, commercial, condos, residential, who the donor was, why they donated it, how much got donated, what nonprofit benefited. You can come to the master class. So this is kind of like the appetizer table. If you want to step through the door and go into the buffet, awesome. Master class. That's where you go to either reserve a seat on our next one. It's in Zoom, 3rd Tuesday of the month, or there's an option there for you to watch it live if you want, or excuse me, watch it at your own discretion if you want to watch 3 hours of recordings. Moreover, this next and last type of person is who we meet the most. You say, I get that I don't know everything. Yes, I do want to learn more, but I'm not going to get hung up in analysis paralysis. I get it. My board needs to know. Our fundraisers are being canceled. Our nonprofit is struggling financially. We've got people to help. And it makes sense that if 43% of our wealth is held in real estate, it makes sense that the proceeds from gifts of real estate is a better way than all the fundraisers and grant writing put together. Cammie, I want the board to see this. I want our donors to see this, because maybe you've also figured out that this is good for the donor. This is doing the donor a favor. This is, frankly, it's a disservice. It's a disservice to know about this. That's why we have the warning at the beginning, to be able to offer a smarter way to give and not do it. And here's the thing. All the donors that are on anyone's donor list are on somebody else's donor list too. And here's what we hear happening around the country. Nonprofits that hear about this and they sit on it and they're not really sure what to do, and they got to get board approval, and they're dragging their feet about it. Next thing you know, they finally start talking to their donors, and the donor says, yeah, we did have a 3-family in Boston. It was worth 1.5 million. We already donated it to another nonprofit that taught us about this already. So we don't want that to happen to you. Maybe you have a real estate company and you're like, oh boy, my realtors need to know about this. Not only can they get paid a full commission, but I, as the broker of the company, make more money when they're making more money. And maybe you're a financial advisor or a nonprofit and you say, oh, I'm starting to see how I want to talk to real estate companies and get them to help us get funded. See, Bev is collaborative. Bev Fawcett, who brought us together today, knows that any real estate in her town, area, community, marketplace that comes to the table this way, she's either going to get the listing or she's going to get a referral fee. And she knows that 99.99999% of the donations aren't going to happen in her marketplace. They're going to be all over the country. So she knows. She knows that other realtors need to know about this. Maybe you have a financial services company, or it's starting to make sense that 65%, man, 65% of the $9 billion that's already coming in comes from financial service people. They've got hundreds and thousands Companies have tens of thousands of clients who want to be more philanthropic, who want to leave legacy, who need the tax deduction. So the point is, my friends, your clients, your real estate investor group, God knows we all are on Facebook, nonprofit groups, nonprofit leadership platforms. If there are other people that you know that need to know about this, you can do a presentation like this with us, partner, collaborate. Let's get this information in front of your donors. Friends, when the average donation is more than $500,000, you can partner with other nonprofits to spread the word. If you go to parkinsons.org, you'll see that they have a page on their donation portal about the same team that we use. You'll see that Alzheimer's in different places are starting to understand this. When you can partner together, that's when the magic happens. So this is what it looks like to be a champion. The woman on the left is Hallie. She's the executive director of The Haven. The woman in the middle, Jessica Peterson. She's the real estate agent that got us in contact. And of course, I'm taking a knee. We are promoting this via media, via press release, via public service announcements. And this photo will be in our book. Real estate is hot, fundraising is not. This month, April, is National List to Legacy Listing Month. We're doing all these things to help promote as public service announcement. We invite you to come to the master class. We invite you to get the first chapter of the book for free. And we invite you now to ask any questions that you might have. This is my contact information, but I'll type it in the chat. I'm going to stop sharing the screen and just come on back and let me go over into the chat. Bev, Seal, if you guys want to see if anyone has a question for me, that's awesome. I'm just going to start putting contact information over here.
Do we have any questions?
We take timeshares.
The question was, do they take timeshares? And I actually know the answer to that.
You know, that's funny. You're the first person to ask that. But one of the first things I learned in the beginning, no timeshares. So it's any real estate of any kind, land, commercial, residential, no matter how big or small, the only thing that they do not take is timeshare. I don't know anything more than that other than it's a big no.
You have a question?
Yeah, how do they get paid?
How do they get paid?
They who? Me?
Yes.
Or the,
Yes.
so
Or
we
the non-
get paid. We get paid. We are the marketing arm for this specialized nonprofit. We get paid when people want to get certified. They want to become a specialist and get put on the map and have some marketing material provided. We get paid when people want to step into becoming a champion and they want to have press releases and interviews and social media and email campaign. Just like anything else, you know, it's great to have the cure to cancer, but if no one knows that you have it, you're not curing anybody. So even though we have the cure that funds nonprofits better than any fundraiser or grant writing, if people don't know about it, we're not helping them. So that's how we get paid. We get paid to help spread the word.
Deb, do you do like seminars now for like coming to like a Rorschach Club? How's that work?
The question was, can I now do a presentation to the Ruritan Club? So
So the question is, can you, Bev, do a presentation? Absolutely. We want Bev to do this. I'm only doing it now because, you know, Bev is relatively new with us. She's been around for about 30 days. She's a great student. She's becoming a wonderful friend, but she's new. So I want to be able to come in and answer any and all questions that you have. But ultimately, we want Bev doing the presentations for your nonprofit, for your donors, for the Rotary, whoever and everybody. And, we get that a local person that you've known for a year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, that's who you want to learn from. So we're providing this support for her, and we can provide this support for your nonprofit, for your fundraisers, for your gift, planned giving experts, like whoever wants to get the support and the training.
Do you happen to know if Cystic Fibrosis Foundation is involved with you at all?
The question was, do you know if the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation is involved?
I have not heard of them specifically receiving a gift of real estate. Those logos that we shared at the beginning are just to show you that thousands. I mean, when you think about it, at $9 billion a year and the 18 to 20,000 donations a year, the majority, even those bigger ones, have gotten proceeds. Sometimes it's a specialized nonprofit who has accepted the real estate and then granted. So they grant the money, they grant the proceeds, but it's not because you wrote a grant. It's because the donor said, hey, when this property sells, I want $300,000 going to Daily Bread. Awesome. They get granted that money. So in the real world, in the tax returns that are filed, et cetera, in that scenario, Daily Bread got a donation of $300,000. They didn't get a donation of real estate. So we don't always know exactly where the donations come from, but I do know that that specific name is not one that I've heard.
Maybe we can rectify that.
We absolutely
It was
can.
something, do you have anything written up, condensed, that like I could send to
I
the
can make you
foundation?
something. Yeah. I'll get you. Actually, I made a booklet, and I can send this out to anybody, but I made a booklet that has some of the headlines of National Legacy Month and some of the topics of the presentation. And I can add more information to that. I'd be happy to do that. I have that. I actually have this booklet as a PDF.
Okay.
So I can send
I
it
can
out.
forward it maybe from them.
I'm so happy. Just makes me giddy, Bev. I'd love to see that if you'd like to share it, just, for just to see what your mindset is and just see. It's fun. You know what, guys? It's kind of like, when you have babies and they start growing up and, they start doing reports at school and you're like, yeah, I want to give you an A+ on that. That's great.
Yeah, I'll send you the PDF.
Yeah.
Cool. Any other questions?
Yeah, when it says the specialized nonprofit takes the title and responsibility, who is is this the organization that takes the title?
The Rock is not the organization, or you can go ahead, Cameron.
Sure. And I don't mean to step on your toes, Bev. I'm sure you could explain it, but I'm here, so I'll just take that. So the specialized nonprofit is realtygiftfund.org. realtygiftfund.org. They are a 501c3 for all 501c3s. In other words, donor comes to the table, donor says, I've got this piece of real estate. Does it qualify? Can I get cash out? What if I've got a mortgage, etc.? They fill out the evaluation form. We put them in touch with the specialized nonprofit. Now, you as the nonprofit who brought them to the table can be a part of that conversation. Bev can sit in, I can sit in, but ultimately it's about the donor and the specialized nonprofit getting to know each other and get the donor's questions answered. When the donor says, yep, this is what I want to do, then the specialized nonprofit takes title. So let's say, for example, we introduce them today, the donor and the specialized nonprofit. They're smart enough that they can tell pretty much at a glance, is this going to be a good donation, assuming everyone's being honest about the condition and the value and all that. So within 24 to 48 hours, they send over a couple of net sheets showing the donor If you sell it outright, here's your consequences. If you donate it, here's what that looks like. When the donor decides, yes, this is what I want to do, if there's any money to be exchanged hands, whether it's a mortgage paid off or whether they just say, you know what, I love my nonprofit, but I don't love $1 million worth. I'd like to get 500 cash out of it. All that happens within a 30-day period. The donor is off the deed. They've got their tax benefit. They've got their cash. Realty Gift Fund now is the proud owner of that property. They list it with a real estate agent in that marketplace. And when it sells, they divvy out the proceeds in accordance to what the arrangement was when they met with the donor. They have a donation agreement that says 50% is going here, 30% is going there, etc. So the donor decides where the money goes. Just like if I was standing here with a $100 bill and I wanted to donate it, I would decide who gets that $100 bill. It's the same thing with the donation of real estate.
Donor could actually keep a portion of it themselves.
Yes, the donor can keep a portion. Yes. They would have to pay taxes on that, but they can keep some. And I'm not sure that you showed the roadmap, but I have it in my booklet.
Well, if you want to hand that out, does everyone there have a,
Yes.
do they all have a
Yeah.
pamphlet?
Here's a
Okay,
copy of the roadmap.
sure. I'm happy to just go through that in 90 seconds or less. Friends, if you look at number 1, the donor has a piece of real estate to donate. Where they come from, how much is going to be donated, what state or city the property in, that's a different conversation. But there's a donor that wants to donate. 80% of them do it because they love your nonprofit, period. They're doing it because they want to. It's the right thing for them to do. 20% do it for tax deduction. Either way, they're going to get a tax deduction. So donors here at number 1, it gets donated at number 2 to the specialized nonprofit who takes title, takes financial responsibility, relieves you of any of the burden of the real estate. They are the ones that give the donor the tax paperwork to get the write-off. They're the ones that pay off the mortgage or give them the cash. Now that specialized nonprofit has ownership of that property, and this all is going to happen in a few weeks, 2 weeks. When they have the property, number 3, now it's time to list it. I think of it as hot potato, got to get rid of it. Bev, you might want to put at number 3 your picture and your information moving forward when you hand that out. I just see that it's kind of a generic. So at number 3, now that the property's been donated, it gets listed, preferably with a charitable real estate specialist so they know what the heck we're doing. But it's listed with a real estate agent, just like any other property would get listed. Now that the property is liquidated, you go down the road to number 4, bam, a check is given to the nonprofit that the donor wants to have it, whether it's 1 nonprofit, 3 nonprofits, 10 nonprofits. One of the favorite nonprofits of a financial advisor is something called a donor advised fund. So if they want to put all of it in a donor advised fund and give your nonprofit $50,000 a year for the next 10 years, whatever they want to do is what happens at number 4. Now, number 5 is talking about cause marketing campaigns. It is explaining that let's do a media campaign. Let's do PR. Let's let your followers know, hey, there's a property at 123 Main Street in downtown Detroit. And when it sells, we're getting a check for $300,000. Because if we start doing, or because we are doing programs that are promoting this, now you're going to get more people that understand, that have learned about it, that want to participate with you. You can put that down, Bev. Thank you so much for holding it up. And there's an example of a minister in Chicago. So we have a real agent of change, Deborah Laplante. She is in New Jersey. She came to the class. She became a champion, part of the program with all the marketing materials, et cetera, like Bev. And the very night that she had been on in our class, she was watching the 700 channel. And she saw a minister in Chicago, which is where she's from, and he was sitting on a roof in a tent, downtown Chicago, Christmas time. Come to find out, this guy's so passionate about his cause, for 10 years in a row, he has spent 100 days in the worst neighborhood, in the worst weather ever, to take a stand for his nonprofit. So she reached out to him and she said, Pastor, I see that you're trying to raise $35 million to create a community center in the worst neighborhood of Chicago. We can help you. She got me on the phone with him. Then we got on the phone with his whole board and the specialized nonprofit, had a conversation. They did their due diligence. They looked all of us up and said, okay, this is great. We want to do it. So we did a interview with him. And then we did one of these with his organization to show people, hey, pastor needs $35 million and 25 bucks here and 50 bucks there is great. But guess what? He can benefit from real estate. And the beauty of that was he had already received gifts of real estate in Chicago. He just didn't know he could do it anywhere in the country. So that's just an example.
You can do it more than one time.
The question is, you can do it more than one time.
Oh, faux show. So one of the statistics that Dr. Russell James, please go watch my interview with him at the FAQS, and Bev will make sure that you guys get all that. He says that when people donate real estate, statistically, they donate 2 pieces in 1 year. Because now that they know about it, now that they know how convenient it is, now that they know they can pull cash out, now that they know they can help more than one nonprofit, whatever, they do it again. So yes, you can do it as many times as you like. So guys, just to kind of wrap it up, the moral of the story is this. We are not suggesting that you quit doing fundraisers. We all love a good fundraiser. We all love a good bake sale or a good golf tournament. Keep doing it. But what we're saying is educate your people that you can benefit from real estate too. We can help you do that as much as you like or as little as you like. We do not want your donor list. We do not want your donor list. People are so worried about that, and you should be. You've spent years harvesting and building relationships and building rapport. We don't want your donor list. We want to help you educate your donors. And whether that's learning how to make a phone call, whether it's doing one of these presentations for 1,000 donors at one time, whether it's doing a social media campaign or putting it on your website in a newsletter, what we're saying is we can be as active as you like us to be. And no matter what, when the donor comes to the table, you don't have to worry about being an expert. That's who Bev is for you.
Okay, any other questions? All right, I think we've covered it.
Nice. I'll be getting this recording over to you as soon as it renders, and I'll have my assistant put contact information and all that fun stuff, and I'll get it over to you at least by the 1st of next week. And any of you, feel free to share this with your donors, with your board, with whoever. And if you go to that /101, there is already a recording there if you just want to watch it again tonight, now that you kind of get the gist of it, but this will be available. So thank you so much, Bev, for taking a stand and being a champion. You are one of the 1% who will walk your walk, talk your talk, hear this information and do something with it. And I just want to honor you for that. And however we can be of service, that's what we're here for. So thank you, everybody. And I look forward to meeting some of you in the master class that we do on the 3rd Tuesday. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.